In today's Leeds news, Firpo's agency change, Farke touchline ban upheld, yellow card tightrope, and Ampadu takes responsibility for error. Morning folks, welcome back to The View for Wednesday morning the 19th of February with your Leeds United news. We will have Adam Pope on the podcast later on this evening. We're recording that hopefully in the next few minutes, and that should be up tonight for you to check out. But there's a little bit of stuff to get stuck in today, not a lot of bits, but some small bits, and we'll keep it going. It's going to be a long week with the game not being until next Monday, but we'll start off with the Junior Firpo situation and where we are with that and what's been going on, and the conversations around Junior Firpo's contract situation at Leeds are likely to continue for a little while longer, and fresh reports today suggest that Leeds are still not in the frame of offering out any new contracts to players, at least right now. Firpo himself has made some changes that will lean into this and possibly indicate that a change could be on the cards for him come the end of this season. Firpo has changed his agencies from the Sports and Life agency to the U First agency based out of Spain. Firpo has registered 8 goal contributions for Leeds so far this season, and his form and his performances last season and this season have called from some sections of the fans for Firpo's contract to be extended and him to be given another crack at the Premier League. But commentator Ian Darke doesn't believe that Junior Firpo is Premier League quality and thinks that Leeds United will need to improve in many areas of the park should they get promoted to the Premier League, basing that off Junior Firpo's first stint in the Premier League, which it should be said at that point, behind the scenes and on the pitch, Leeds were a bit of a mess. But I don't think Ian Darke is miles off the mark when he talks about Leeds having to upgrade certain positions. Look at the gap between the three teams that got promoted last season, and they're all likely to come straight back down. So that gap between the two divisions is growing bigger and bigger every single year. So Leeds will obviously need some reinforcements of that quality. Firpo's new agency represents players across France with PSG named, as well as the Red Bull pool of clubs, and some Spanish players as well. So maybe the fact that he's lining up a Spanish agency to go back to Spain is possibly something in that, possibly also nothing in that as well. But now no one at Leeds United right now is talking about contracts or permanent moves for players, despite the noise around Solomon, Rothwell and Firpo. And it is clear that Leeds are focusing on the next couple of games to get them out of the way before when the international break comes they can sit down and talk about this with a clearer head, and hopefully at that point a much more solid view of what this season will look like for Leeds. Moving on, let's talk about Daniel Farke. And yesterday we looked at the fallout from Leeds versus Sunderland and the Daniel Farke booking for being overly emotional, which is not something we say that often about Daniel Farke. Farke said that he was going to speak to the Football League about that, saying that he had previously received 2 soft yellow cards before this. But a piece from Joe Donoghue today in the Yorkshire Evening Post goes into a little bit more detail as to why the ban will be upheld. Farke won't be allowed in the dugout for the Sheffield United game on Monday night, but will be permitted to speak to the squad before the game, in the dressing room, at half-time as well as full-time. He'll also be permitted to talk to the match officials before the game, during the half-time break and full-time as well. But it does say he won't be permitted from contacting the bench from the stands, but we've seen lots of managers with little earpieces do that anyway. But again, you would imagine Leeds have enough in the coaching setup and enough to understand what is needed between the halves, but I would be shocked if he's not wearing a little earpiece come Monday night. The yellow card that he received is classified as a minor disciplinary action needed, and appeals are only permitted for major disciplinary action needed. So on that basis, the yellow card will not have an appeals process. Farke will not have any appeal heard, and the touchline ban for Daniel Farke against Sheffield United will be upheld, and he will miss the game. At least his presence on the sideline will be missing on Monday night. Moving on, let's talk about somebody else who is walking a suspension tightrope, and that's Jaden Bogle, and he has grown into his role at Leeds United over the course of this season and become one of Leeds' most important players as well as most consistent players of the campaign, and now he has to tread carefully over the next 2 to 3 games. Bogle currently sits on 9 yellow cards for the season this year, and the next cut-off point is after the Millwall game, and Bogle will need to avoid picking up another yellow card to avoid a 2-game suspension before the end of that game. Leeds have strong cover in the full-back area, so it's not the end of the world should he pick up a suspension, but given his relationship with Dan James and given how important Jaden Bogle is to how Leeds attack as well as how Leeds defend. Losing him for 2 games, an important part of the season, could cause unnecessary worries for Leeds United. All the player has to do is not get booked against Sheffield United, West Brom or Millwall, and he's in the clear then. But as I say, it's 10 yellow cards before the end of the Millwall game. We have to keep an eye on that. He's at Sheffield United, his old side, on Monday night to come up against them. Likely a very aggressive reception from the Bramall Lane crowd. So, yeah, it won't be an easy night. Maybe we'll see Sam Byram come in for that game. Maybe Farke will try and manage that one. We'll have to keep an eye on it, and we'll find out come Monday night. Anyway, and moving on, let's talk about some Opta stats in Leeds' favour. And we don't do supercomputer stories here at the channel because they change every week. And if supercomputers were so super, why did they have to recalculate every single week? But we do really like statistics and probability here. And the latest set of statistics from Opta lean very much in Leeds' favour for promotion from the Championship this season. But we all know if there is a statistical probability of Leeds doing something, it's a good chance that Leeds will buck that trend and do the opposite. But according to Opta's news stats, the predicted numbers for the end of the season, they believe that Leeds have a 95.3% chance of being promoted to the Premier League. This will be snipped up now and held against me if Leeds fail to get promoted. They also say that Leeds have a 77.1% chance right now of picking up the title, which is secondary right now for me. Primary is get out of the league, but it's a high probability right now with just 13 games remaining in the league. And they'll take every bit of positive information we can get that pushes us towards that outcome come the end of the season. But a massive thank you to LUFC Data for sharing that stat on X, and just a massive thank you to LUFC Data for sharing statistics all season over on X. It was a cracking job, and I really appreciate himself, our own Andrew Stats Dalton, as well as Johnny Cooper as well, for making sure we kept in the know about all the records that Leeds are setting this season. Moving on, let's talk about Leeds United's captain Ethan Ampadu, and he has been an important part of the Leeds United machine over the past 2 years, and a bargain signing for Leeds United last year, but a moment to forget for him against Sheffield United when he got sucked in by Wilson Isidore, rounded, and then rolled in the box to give Sunderland the lead against Leeds. One mistake, though, doesn't condemn an entire season. It doesn't condemn a player, full stop. There's been plenty of Leeds United players so far this season who've made individual errors that have led to goals. But Ampadu has spoken about the incident now and has taken responsibility for it, and he said the following. I was frustrated with myself. The team worked so hard and a little bit of poor defending from me made them go 1-0 up. I think first half we controlled the game and we were setting the tempo, trying to play. Thanks to Pascal for saving me. I've told him about 4 or 5 times now. I might tell him again tomorrow morning. It can be frustrating, but we always back ourselves. Players are rarely judged or condemned by one single mistake in a campaign alone. The reaction and the recovery is always the one to keep an eye on. But Ampadu could go straight back into Leeds United midfield come Sheffield United, allowing Pascal Struijk to come in to that left centre back. Adds more conversation then around with who plays in midfield. Leeds have got an overabundance of talent in that part of the park. Ilya Grew from a defensive capability along with Tanaki. You've got Joe Rothwell from an attacking perspective, and then obviously Ethan Ampadu can easily slot in there for his passing range as well. But Ampadu's reaction and his public addressing of the situation for me shows maturity that you expect to see from a captain, but also other important attributes from a captain are accountability and responsibility, and he's taken both of them in this situation. I would expect nothing else from Ethan Ampadu. He's got very big shoulders and carries himself as a captain and as a skipper, so very capable of doing that. It'd be interesting to see him go back into the midfield area where he's probably at his most comfortable. He's been good at the back for Leeds, but Leeds are in a situation right now where they don't need to put square pegs in round holes, and Ampadu, his better position is in the centre of the park. I think he showed that when he went in there when the substitutions were made against Sunderland. Did fine when he was in there as well. So yeah, great to see him coming out and talking about that. Great to see him taking the accountability. That's leadership. That's captain's role in the team, and great to see that. Folks, that will be it for me today. As I say, Adam Pope will be joining me later on tonight. It won't be a live stream, but it'll be out probably about 6:30 this evening. You can check that out. Myself and Adam Pope are talking about the first half of the season versus where we are now, and all the other little threads that are loose around Leeds' season so far heading into the back end of the campaign. I will talk to you later on this evening. Enjoy the rest of your day. See you soon.